Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel, and this is going to be the second tutorial video in the series for beginners on how to make mini albums. Today what we're going to do is learn how to make different page styles. There are a couple of different ways to make pages, but I'm going to show you two ways to make pocket pages. Pocket pages are pages that allow for a pocket between the two actual pages themselves, and you can place a large photo mat in the actual pockets. And you can do these side loading pockets or top loading pockets. So it just depends on what type of album you are looking at doing. Before you make your pages, you first need to decide what size album you plan to make. Some common sizes are 6x6, 8x8, and 5x7. However, you can make your pages any size that you choose. A couple of common ways that people make pages: if they are using 8x8 papers like I will be using, I want to use the entire page and not have to cut some of this paper for some of my pages. So I'm going to be making my pages to accommodate my 8-inch papers. If you are using a page like this that's decorative and it's a 12x12, if you want to maximize your paper, you can cut this into 4 6x6 pieces and you'll have 4 different pieces. So in that case, you want your pages to be slightly bigger than the actual 6x6 page. If I do my 8x8 papers decorative, I want my pages to be slightly bigger so I don't have to trim them. So what I like to do is leave a 1/4 inch border around my papers. So if I'm making my papers, using my papers that are 8 inches, I'm going to make my pockets 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. If you like a larger board and you want a 1/4 inch around all 4 sides, you want to make sure that you add a 1/2 inch. So if you were doing 8-inch pages, you would do 8 1/2 inch pages to accommodate your 8-inch decorative papers. Once you decide the size of your pages, what you're going to do first is you're going to cut out the pieces. So I have my scoreboard here with my cutter, and since my pages, I want to accommodate my 8-inch pages, I'm going to make my pages 8 1/4 inches. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to make one cut that's 8 1/4 inches on this paper. Once I have this cut at 8 1/4 inches, I'm going to turn it and I'm going to cut the other dimension, but I am not going to cut this 8 1/4 inches because I need to have tabs on the sides so that I can glue my back onto it. So I like to use 1/2 inch tabs on each side, so that adds 1 inch to my dimensions. So my 8 1/4 inch page needs to be 9 1/4 inches. So I'm going to measure to 9 1/4 inches and cut this piece off. Now, once I have this cut at 9 1/4 inches, I am going to use my scoring tool and I'm going to score this at 1/2 inch. You're going to score both ends at 1/2 inch. So you can score it here and you can go here and you can score this at 1/2 inch. Some people prefer to score it and then turn it and score it again, but you can score it however you would prefer. This is going to be my first page. So when these are folded back, it will be 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. So what we're going to do first, before we do this, we're going to just slightly taper the corners. And when we do this, it actually makes it a little bit easier for whenever we slip things in and out of the pocket later if the corners are mitered. So I'm going to do that first. I'm going to bring in my bone folder. I'm going to flip this over. So when you score on this side, you are scoring to where there's an indentation, and then this one is raised up. You're always going to fold where the raised part is. You're going to fold on that. It's easier to fold this way. So I'm going to fold first, and then I'm going to burnish. This is going to make it have a nice, crisp, clean fold. I'm going to turn it over, and I'm going to burnish it on this side too. I'm going to do the same thing with the other side. I'm going to fold this. Then I'm going to use my bone folder. I'm going to flip it over and burnish it again. So now I have my first, this is the front of my first page. It's 8 1/4 by 8 1/4. These are the tabs. We're going to put a backside on here, and that's what's going to make the pocket. So I'm going to set this aside. I'm going to bring a second piece in. I'm going to cut this 8 1/4 inches. Next, what I'm going to do, I'm going to rotate it. In this one, I'm going to cut just below 8 1/4 inches. So not at 8 1/8, just a little teeny tiny bit below. And I'll show you why in just a second. So we're going to cut this. And now we have this piece. So this piece is just slightly shorter so that it will fit on this piece without there being any overhang. Sometimes if you cut it exactly, the fold lines and the score lines will make the piece just slightly a little bit less, and so we have overhang. So if we cut it just slightly smaller, this piece will fit perfectly on here. So this is going to be the back piece. So what we're going to do to actually make this a pocket, we're going to use adhesive. You can use glue here, or you can use double-sided tape, whichever you prefer. And you are going to put glue on this entire tab here. And when you're first beginning, it's easier to do these one at a time. So what you are going to do first, you're going to line this up. Oh, I have it the wrong direction already. There we go. You're going to line this up with the top edge just to make sure. So I like to make sure it's nice and straight. And then you're going to take your bone folder and you're going to run it along here to make sure that it's nice and burnished. You can do that on the other side too. So now we have these two pieces joined together. You can open this up and add glue on the second tab. Make sure that you cover this whole entire tab because you want this to be really nice and glued together so that it doesn't move and so that it holds over time. Once you have those glued, you're going to fold this so that it's nice and flat and then fold this over top of that. I like to smooth it down from the one that we first did all the way to the second one, just to make sure that it's a nice, tight, crisp, clean pocket. Again, we're going to fold it, or we're going to flip it over, and we're going to burnish it on the back side. So now we have our first pocket. So you can see that this creates a pocket for your pages. So if you want a side loading pocket, this is going to go into our hinge system in the book. This side is going to be open where we can stick something, a photo mat into this. And so we can have lots of stuff in there depending on what your design is like. If you want to have top loading pockets though, you are going to have your pages with the top pocket. You are not going to assemble it in the same way though, because we still need to have a place for the tab here. And so basically it will be different if it's a top loading pocket. So this is how you create a side loading pocket. It's the easiest way to make pages. It's also one of the most popular types of pages. You'll see most pocket albums do have the pockets on the side. This is going to be the base page. A lot of times people do their albums based on how many pages they have. So this will be page 1, this would be page 2. But this is the base and we build up layers and interactive elements on top of this page. So we always want to start with this. I usually build my albums with either 4 base pages or 5 base pages. A lot of people have different preferences, but that just tends to be mine. So when you're designing an album, the first thing you want to do is decide how many pages you're going to have, what size pages you're going to have, and then you're going to start by creating your pocket pages. I'll show you next how to actually make a side loading page. For the side loading page, I'm going to show you how to make these pages on an 8.5 by 11 piece of craft cardstock. I'm going to make this page be a 5-inch page just so that I can use one piece because this is not going to actually go into the album that I'm currently making. So this is just for demonstration purposes. So if you want to make a top loading pocket, what you need to do is make this piece is going to actually be a continuous piece because I can get away with it using this cardstock here. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to cut this to 5.5 inches. Next, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna score this at 1/2 inch. I'm going to turn this, and now what I'm going to do, I'm going to score this. I'm going to make this, remember, 5 inches. So I'm going to score this at 5 inches. And I'm going to score this again at 10 inches. Then I'm going to turn this completely around, and I'm going to cut this so that this is the 1 inch tab. I'm going to cut this so that it's only 1/2 inch. You could cut this piece before if you want to do it that way. I just do it this way. And so what you're going to have, a 5 inch piece, a 5 inch piece, a 1/2 inch piece. This is going to be 5.5 inches with a 1/2 inch score line here. So what you are going to do next, we are going to be cutting some of this out. So first thing we're going to do is we are going to miter at the corner here. In this one, we are going to miter the corner, and we're going to miter the corner here. So we're taking that whole entire corner out because we don't need that extra paper in that corner. We're going to leave this tab on, then we're going to miter the corner here. Then we're going to turn this paper and we're going to cut this tab off. So you're going to be really careful cutting on the score line. If you don't trust to cut this straight, you can use your paper trimmer as well. I just use scissors for mine. And then we're going to score this. So remember, we want to fold into the bump. So I'm going to flip this up, make sure that I line it up nice and straight. I'm going to bring in my bone folder, and I'm going to burnish it, flip it over, and burnish it. I'm going to open this up, and I'm going to fold these two. What you will see here is there's actually a lot of overlap. And so it's fine to leave it like that, but it's actually going to lay flatter if you don't have as much paper. So what I actually do whenever I'm cutting out my corners is instead of making that little tiny cut like I did, I actually cut my corners at a sharper diagonal. And when I do that, it will lay completely flat and there won't be any overlap. So you'll be able to see, hopefully, you'll be able to see that there is no overlap there. So then now what's going to happen, let me flip this around, this will be glued to our hinge. This will be glued to our hinge. This is going to be glued together. So these pieces we're not going to glue right now, but those will be glued together. This will be glued together into the hinge when we glue it into the book, and there will be our pocket. So that way we can put our photo mats top loading. When this is in the book, it'll be a photo mat from the top and you can pull them out. So this is how you make the top loading page. If you want this page to be larger, like the 8.5 or the 8 inch size, you can cut this. You would just use 2 separate pieces. So again, you would cut this, you would have the different tabs, you would cut a back piece. And so you can do that to make your side loading pages too. I don't make a lot of, or top loading pages. I don't make a lot of top loading pages, to be honest. And so I tend to just do the side loading ones, but they're made the same exact way. So this is step 1 of the mini album process. And you want to first make sure you make all of your base pages. It's the easiest way to start. So if you have an idea about what size album pages you want, I would encourage you to make all of your pages, get them assembled. If you're doing the side loading pages, make sure that you glue them all together so that you have them like this. If you want to do the top loading pages, I would recommend that you have them all like this. Don't glue them together yet. And then we will start by making some of the different flaps and pockets and mechanisms in the next video. So I hope you will join me for that next video. Thank you for watching and have a good day.